Once upon a time, nestled deep at the edge of a great forest, there stood a small but warm cottage. It was filled with something more precious than gold or jewels: love. Inside the cottage lived a kind widow with her 2 daughters. The girls were her greatest treasures. The elder was called Snow White. She helped her mother with the housework, mended clothes, read books, and sang soft songs while spinning wool. The younger daughter was called Red Rose, for her cheeks glowed as bright as summer roses. She loved to wander in the meadows, climb hills, chase butterflies, and gather wildflowers. The sisters shared everything: work, play, and even dreams. Their lives were simple, but they were filled with joy. Every morning, Snow White would rise early, sweep the cottage, and set the fire. She laid out bread and milk for breakfast. Red Rose would come running in from outside with flowers and says cheerfully,
"Look, Snow White! The forest gave us gifts again today."
Snow White whispers,
"And you, dear sister, bring the sunshine indoors."
In the evenings, the 3 would sit by the fire. The mother would spin yarn, Snow White would read from a book, and Red Rose would sit at her mother's feet, listening with shining eyes. When darkness fell, the sisters would share a bed, whispering stories until sleep claimed them. One evening, the little family sat snug around the fire when suddenly, knock, knock, knock. A heavy sound echoed from the door. Red Rose says,
"Oh, who could that be on such a stormy night?"
Their mother stood and opened the door. To their astonishment, a great brown bear lumbered inside. His fur was thick with snow, and his eyes glowed kindly in the firelight. The bear spoke in a deep, gentle voice.
"Do not fear, kind ones. I will not harm you. I only seek warmth by your fire. The cold is bitter, and my paws are frozen."
The bear stretched out before the fire, sighing deeply with relief. Soon Red Rose crept closer, curiosity sparkling in her eyes. The bear turned his great head toward her and gave a soft growl that sounded almost like laughter. Snow White, though more cautious, brought him a basin of water to drink. From that night on, the bear came often to the cottage. Each evening he arrived at the door, and each evening the family welcomed him. He played with Red Rose, who loved to tug his ears and roll about with him like a cub. He listened quietly as Snow White read aloud by the fire. Winter passed in this way, and the family grew fond of the bear, treating him as a friend. When the snow melted and spring returned, the bear came one last time. His eyes were serious as he spoke. Bear said,
"Now I must go. I have a duty to guard my treasure from a wicked dwarf. While I was under his spell, he sought to steal it. Beware of him, for he is cunning and cruel."
Red Rose said sadly,
"Must you really leave? Who will keep us company by the fire?"
Snow White said softly.
"Will we ever see you again?"
Bear said,
"If fate is kind, yes. Until then, be safe."
With that, he walked out into the forest and disappeared among the trees. The sisters missed him dearly, but they soon had other adventures that brought his words to life. One sunny afternoon, Snow White and Red Rose went into the forest to gather twigs and flowers. As they walked, they heard a strange, high-pitched cry. Snow White said,
"Listen. It sounds like someone in trouble."
They hurried toward the sound and found a queer sight. A tiny dwarf, no taller than a child, with a long white beard tangled in the roots of a fallen tree. His face was red with anger. Dwarf shouting,
"Why do you stand there staring? You silly geese! Come and help me!"
The sisters rushed forward. Carefully, Snow White untangled the beard while Red Rose pulled at the roots. At last, the dwarf was free. But instead of thanking them, he screeched. Dwarf said,
You clumsy girls! You nearly tore my precious beard! Is this your idea of help?
Red Rose, offended.
"We only wish to free you."
Dwarf said,
Be gone, meddling creatures. You're lucky I don't turn you into stone.
He snatched up a sack filled with glittering gold, stuffed it under his arm, and stomped away. The sisters stared after him, bewildered. Snow White said softly,
"Could this be the wicked dwarf the bear warned us about?"
They met him again not long after. This time, his beard was caught in a fishing line near a river. Once more, the sisters freed him, and once more he rewarded them with scolding. And again they met him, trapped by an eagle, snared in thorns, caught in yet another trouble of his own making. Each time, Snow White and Red Rose helped him, and each time he only shouted at them. One evening, the sisters ventured deeper into the forest than ever before. They found the dwarf again, this time facing a terrible danger. A great bear was bounding toward him. The dwarf shrieked in terror.
Mighty bear! Spare me and eat those two silly girls instead. They're plump and foolish. Take them.
Snow White and Red Rose gasped. The bear, however, did not listen. With one mighty swipe of his paw, he struck the dwarf down. The wicked little man fell, and his cruel deeds ended at last. The sisters trembled as the bear turned to them. But instead of harm, something marvelous happened. Before their eyes, the bear's shaggy fur began to fall away, and in his place stood a handsome young prince. His eyes were kind, the same eyes that had looked at them from the bear's face. The sisters could hardly believe it. Joy filled their hearts. Soon after, the prince invited the family to his grand palace. There, Snow White fell in love with the prince, and Red Rose with his younger brother, a noble knight. The two weddings were held together, and the air was filled with music, flowers, and laughter. Their mother, who had raised them with such love, came to live in the castle too. Though they now wore fine gowns and lived in grand halls, Snow White and Red Rose never changed. Snow White remained gentle and thoughtful, and Red Rose remained lively and joyful. They still shared everything, just as they had in the little cottage. And so, the two sisters and their loved ones live happily ever after, proving that kindness and love bring the truest of treasures.